Have you ever wondered why some good people still suffer? Why do kind-hearted people face loss, illness, betrayal, and hardship, while others seem to move through life untouched? Is it bad karma? A debt from the past, finally returning? Many spend their lives chasing success, love, and security. Yet when suffering arrives, they begin asking a deeper question. What truly shapes our destiny? Tonight, through the wisdom of the Buddha, we will explore the hidden roots of suffering, the law of karma, and how a single change in the present can begin transforming the future. Deep down, most people are not afraid of aging, poverty, or even death itself. What they truly fear is suffering without understanding why. Why does one person seem to carry burden after burden, while another appears to live with ease? Why do painful patterns repeat in our lives? Many begin to wonder whether an unseen force is following them, whether old actions, forgotten choices, or past karma are quietly shaping their present reality. This fear grows stronger when life becomes difficult. A failed relationship, a serious illness, financial hardship, the loss of someone we love. In those moments, a troubling question arises. Am I simply unlucky, or am I experiencing the results of causes I do not yet understand? To answer that question, we must first understand what the Buddha taught about karma. More than 2500 years ago, before he became the Buddha, Prince Siddhartha lived a life of comfort, wealth, and privilege. He had everything most people spend their lives pursuing. But one day, he encountered something that changed him forever. He saw an old man, then a sick man, then a dead man. For the first time, he realized that no amount of wealth, status, or power could protect anyone from aging, illness, and death. This discovery shook him deeply. The suffering he witnessed was not limited to a few unfortunate people. It was part of every human life. Determined to find a solution, Siddhartha left behind his palace and began a spiritual journey. After years of seeking, he awakened to a profound truth. Suffering is not random. It arises from causes and conditions. And if suffering has causes, those causes can be understood. This insight became the foundation of the Buddha's teachings on karma, impermanence, and liberation from suffering. According to the Buddha, nothing in life happens without causes and conditions. A tree does not appear without a seed. A harvest does not come without planting. In the same way, our experiences do not arise from chance alone. Every thought, every word, and every action creates a cause. And when the right conditions come together, a result follows. This is what Buddhism calls karma. Karma is not fate. It is not a fixed destiny written somewhere in the universe. It is a living process that unfolds moment by moment. When we act with kindness, generosity, and wisdom, we plant seeds that bring peace and harmony. When we act from greed, anger, or ignorance, we plant seeds that often lead to suffering. But karma is far more complex than simple reward and punishment. Many causes from the past, combined with present choices, shape the reality we experience today. That is why the Buddha encouraged people to stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What causes am I creating right now?" Because while we cannot change the seeds already planted, we can choose what seeds we plant today, and that choice has the power to change the direction of our future. One of the most important truths the Buddha taught is impermanence. Everything changes. Youth becomes old age, health becomes sickness, wealth can become poverty, relationships form and eventually separate. Yet most people live as if these things will last forever. We build our identity around our appearance, our possessions, our success, and the people we love. Then when change inevitably arrives, we feel shocked, betrayed, and heartbroken. But the Buddha taught that change is not a mistake. It is the nature of life itself. The problem is not that things change. The problem is that we expect them not to. When we cling to what is temporary, suffering follows. When we understand impermanence, we begin to hold life more gently, and in that understanding, a deeper peace starts to emerge. At this point, many people make a critical mistake. They believe karma is a form of punishment. They think that every hardship is proof that they are being judged, cursed, or condemned for something they did in the past. But that is not what the Buddha taught. Karma is not revenge. Karma is not a divine sentence. Karma is simply the natural law of cause and effect. If you plant a mango seed, a mango tree grows. If you plant a thorn bush, you cannot expect roses. The universe is not punishing the seed. It is simply allowing it to produce its natural result. The same principle applies to our lives. Some suffering may come from past causes. Some comes from present choices. Some arises from conditions beyond our control. The important question is not, who is punishing me? The important question is, what am I creating right now? Because the moment you understand this, you stop seeing yourself as a victim of karma and start becoming a creator of new karma. If this message resonates with you, write 1 in the comments as a reminder that your future is not determined by your past. It is shaped by the choices you make today. If karma is not a punishment, then where does suffering really come from? According to the Buddha, much of our suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from how we react to what happens. 2 people can face the same loss, the same illness, or the same disappointment, yet suffer very differently. Why? Because suffering grows when the mind refuses to accept reality. We want people to stay forever. We want our bodies to remain young. We want life to unfold according to our plans. And when reality moves in a different direction, we resist it. That resistance becomes pain. The Buddha compared this to being struck by a second arrow. The first arrow is the event itself, loss, failure, aging, or sickness. The second arrow is created by the mind. This should not be happening. Why me? I can't accept this. Very often the second arrow hurts far more than the first. This does not mean we should become cold or indifferent. It means we learn to face reality with wisdom, instead of fighting a battle we can never win. The moment we stop arguing with what is a surprising thing happens, the mind becomes lighter and suffering begins to lose its grip. At this point, some people misunderstand the Buddha's teachings. They assume that if everything is impermanent, then family, work, money, and responsibility do not matter. But the Buddha never taught people to abandon their lives. He understood that we all have responsibilities. We care for our families. We earn a living. We support those who depend on us. These things are not obstacles to the path. They are part of the path. The problem is not having relationships, wealth, or responsibilities. The problem begins when we believe they can provide permanent security. A loving family is valuable. Financial stability is helpful. Meaningful work has purpose. But none of these can completely protect us from change. The Buddha encouraged people to live fully in the world while remembering its true nature, to care deeply but not cling desperately, to fulfill responsibilities but not lose themselves in attachment. This balance is where wisdom begins. Yet there is another truth many people do not want to hear. Everything we rely on in this world is temporary. The people we love will change. Children grow up and walk their own paths. Friends drift away. Careers end. Possessions are lost. Even the body we call mine is slowly changing with every passing day. This does not mean life is meaningless. It means life cannot be held onto forever. The Buddha taught that suffering begins when we try to make permanent what was never meant to last. We cling to relationships and expect them never to change. We cling to success and expect it to remain. We cling to our identity and expect it to stay the same. But reality follows its own law. Everything that arises will eventually pass away. When we forget this truth, every loss feels like an injustice. When we remember it, loss becomes painful but not unbearable. Wisdom is not refusing to love. Wisdom is loving while understanding impermanence. It is appreciating what is here today without demanding that it remain forever. The more we accept this truth, the less fear controls our lives. And the less fear controls our lives, the more peacefully we can walk through whatever changes the future brings. If suffering is strengthened by attachment and ignorance, then the path to freedom begins with transforming the mind. Many people spend years trying to change their circumstances. They change jobs, relationships, locations, and possessions. Yet the same patterns of suffering often return. Why? Because wherever we go, we carry our mind with us. The Buddha taught that true change begins within. A peaceful mind can face difficult circumstances without being destroyed by them. An untrained mind can suffer even in the middle of comfort and success. This is why spiritual growth is not about controlling the world. It is about understanding yourself. Each time you choose patience instead of anger, you weaken old karma. Each time you choose compassion instead of resentment, you plant new seeds. Each time you choose awareness instead of blind reaction, you begin changing the direction of your future. Real transformation does not happen overnight. It happens one thought, one choice, and one action at a time. The moment you start changing your mind, you start changing your karma. And that is where genuine freedom begins. So how do we begin transforming karma in daily life? The Buddha offered a practical path known as the Noble Eightfold Path. This is not a set of rules designed to control people. It is a guide for reducing suffering and creating the causes of inner peace. It begins with right view, seeing life through the lens of karma, impermanence, and truth rather than illusion. Then comes right intention, choosing kindness over hatred and wisdom over selfish desire. Right speech reminds us that words can heal or harm. Every sentence we speak plants seeds. Right action and right livelihood encourage us to live honestly, avoiding actions that create suffering for ourselves and others. Right effort teaches us to strengthen wholesome qualities and weaken destructive habits. Right mindfulness helps us observe our thoughts, emotions, and actions clearly instead of living on autopilot. And right concentration trains the mind to become steady, calm, and less controlled by craving. The Noble Eightfold Path is not about becoming perfect. It is about taking one step in the right direction each day. Every mindful choice becomes a new cause. Every wholesome action becomes a new seed. And over time, those seeds grow into a different future. This is how karma is transformed, not through wishing, but through conscious living. In the end, the Buddha's message is both simple and profound. You cannot change the past. You cannot erase every mistake. You cannot stop aging, loss, or death from arriving. But you can choose what you create from this moment forward. Every thought of kindness plants a new seed. Every act of compassion weakens the roots of suffering. Every moment of awareness brings you closer to freedom. The past may have shaped where you are today, but it does not have to decide where you go next. So do not waste your life blaming karma, fearing the future, or carrying regrets that can no longer be changed. Instead, begin here. Begin now. Live with wisdom. Speak with kindness. Act with integrity. And let each day become an opportunity to create better causes for a better future. If this teaching touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video. Your support helps share the Buddha's wisdom with more people who may be struggling with suffering, confusion, and fear. May you be peaceful. May you be wise. May you walk the path of freedom. At the root of much human suffering lies a simple but powerful illusion, the belief that things will stay the way they are. We know intellectually that life changes, yet we live as though our relationships, health, possessions, and circumstances will remain the same forever. This illusion creates attachment, and attachment creates fear. Fear of losing what we have, fear of not getting what we want, fear of facing a future we cannot control. The Buddha taught that this blindness is called ignorance. Not ignorance in the sense of lacking information, but ignorance of how life truly works. We forget that every person we meet is temporary. Every success is temporary. Every possession is temporary. Even this body is temporary. When we fail to see this clearly, we build our happiness on unstable ground. Then, when change inevitably arrives, we feel shocked and betrayed. But wisdom begins the moment we stop fighting reality. When we understand impermanence deeply, we stop expecting the impossible. We stop demanding that life remain frozen in a form we prefer. Instead, we learn to appreciate each moment while it lasts. And strangely, when we stop trying to hold on to everything, the heart becomes lighter. Because true peace does not come from controlling life. It comes from understanding it. Many people spend their entire lives trying to change their circumstances, while ignoring the condition of their minds. They believe happiness will finally arrive when they have more money, a better relationship, greater success, or fewer problems. But the Buddha taught that no external achievement can permanently satisfy a mind that is filled with craving. For a short time, we get what we want and feel happy. Then the mind begins searching for something else, something bigger, something newer, something better. This endless chasing creates exhaustion. not because life is cruel, but because desire has no natural ending. The Buddha did not teach people to reject success or pleasure. He taught them not to become slaves to them. A person who depends on external conditions for happiness will always live in fear of losing them. But a person who develops inner peace carries stability wherever they go. This is why true freedom is not found in controlling the world. It is found in understanding the mind. The moment you stop expecting temporary things to provide permanent happiness, a deep burden begins to lift. You still enjoy life, you still love people, you still pursue meaningful goals, but you no longer cling to them as the source of your worth or your peace, and that is the beginning of genuine liberation. One of the greatest obstacles on the spiritual path is attachment. Attachment is not love. Attachment is the belief that we cannot be happy without something or someone. We become attached to people, possessions, status, opinions, and even the image we have of ourselves. At first, attachment feels comforting. It gives us a sense of security. But over time, it quietly becomes a source of fear. The more tightly we hold on to something, the more afraid we become of losing it. This is why many people suffer long before any actual loss occurs. They worry, they cling, they try to control what cannot be controlled. The Buddha taught that attachment is rooted in ignorance. We forget that everything in life is changing. We forget that nothing truly belongs to us forever. When reality eventually takes back what it loaned us, we feel shocked and wounded. Yet wisdom offers another way. Instead of clinging, we learn to appreciate. Instead of controlling, we learn to trust the flow of life. Instead of demanding permanence, we learn to accept change. This does not make us cold or detached. In fact, it allows us to love more deeply, because when we stop trying to possess people and experiences, we become free to cherish them while they are here. And when change inevitably arrives, the heart may feel sadness, but it is no longer destroyed by suffering. When people hear the word Nirvana, many imagine it as a distant place, a reward after death, or an escape from the world. But the Buddha taught something far deeper. Nirvana is not running away from life. It is freedom from the suffering created by greed, hatred, and delusion. A person does not reach peace by escaping problems. They reach peace by changing their relationship with those problems. Imagine two people facing the same hardship. One is consumed by anger, fear, and resistance. The other meets the situation with wisdom, patience, and understanding. The external circumstances may be similar, but their inner experience is completely different. This is why the Buddha focused on the mind. He understood that true liberation cannot be found in wealth, status, power, or perfect conditions. Those things are temporary. Sooner or later, they change. But a mind that is no longer enslaved by craving remains peaceful even when life becomes difficult. Nirvana begins the moment we stop looking outside ourselves for permanent happiness. It begins when we see clearly that no possession, achievement, or relationship can fully satisfy an untrained mind. This does not mean abandoning family work or responsibility. The Buddha never taught that. Instead, he taught us to live fully in the world without becoming trapped by it, to love without clinging, to work without obsession, to serve without attachment to reward. That is why Nirvana is not an escape from life. It is the deepest peace that can be discovered within life itself. If Nirvana is the destination, then transformation is the journey. The Buddha taught that suffering does not disappear simply because we understand it intellectually. It begins to fade when we change how we live. Many people want a different future, yet they continue repeating the same habits, the same reactions, and the same patterns of thinking. Then they wonder why their lives never change. But karma is being created every day. Every thought plants a seed. Every word plants a seed. Every action plants a seed. If we continue feeding anger, anger grows. If we continue feeding fear, fear grows. If we continue feeding greed, greed grows. But the opposite is also true. When we practice patience, patience grows. When we practice kindness, kindness grows. When we practice mindfulness, wisdom grows. This is how karma is transformed, not through miracles, not through wishing, not through blaming the past, but through conscious choices made in the present moment. The Buddha's message is empowering. because it reminds us that no matter what karma we have created before, we are not powerless. Every day offers a new opportunity. Every moment offers a new direction. And the path to a better future always begins with the choice we make right now. The Buddha did not leave us with a philosophy to admire. He left us with a path to practice. That path is known as the Noble Eightfold Path. It begins with right view, seeing life clearly through the truths of karma and impermanence. Then comes right intention, choosing compassion over selfishness and wisdom over ignorance. Right speech reminds us to speak truthfully and kindly. Right action and right livelihood encourage us to live in ways that reduce suffering rather than create it. Right effort teaches us to cultivate wholesome qualities while letting go of harmful habits. Right mindfulness helps us stay awake to our thoughts, emotions, and actions. And right concentration trains the mind to become calm, steady, and free from endless distraction. The Eightfold Path is not something practiced only by monks. It is a guide for everyday life. Each step you take on this path weakens the roots of suffering and strengthens the causes of peace. If you feel ready to walk this path, write 1 inch the comments below. And if commenting is not your thing, simply press like, as a quiet way of saying, I choose wisdom over ignorance and peace over suffering. Every small step matters, every conscious choice matters, and every step taken with awareness moves you closer to freedom. As we move through life, it is easy to believe that the future is something distant, something that will arrive years from now. But according to the Buddha, the future is being created in this very moment, not tomorrow, not next year. Now, every thought you entertain becomes a seed. Every word you speak becomes a seed. Every action you take becomes a seed. And like all seeds, they eventually bear fruit. This is why the Buddha encouraged people to pay close attention to their daily lives. Not because small actions are insignificant, but because small actions repeated over time become destiny. A single act of kindness may seem small. A moment of patience may seem unimportant. Choosing forgiveness instead of resentment may feel invisible. Yet these choices slowly reshape the mind. And when the mind changes, life begins to change as well. Many people wait for a dramatic event to transform them. They wait for suffering to become unbearable. They wait for a crisis. They wait for a miracle. But wisdom does not wait. Wisdom begins today, right where you are, with the life you already have. The Buddha taught that a person who constantly plants wholesome seeds has nothing to fear from the future, not because life will become perfect, but because they are creating the causes for greater peace, clarity, and resilience. So ask yourself honestly, what seeds am I planting today? Are they seeds of anger or compassion, fear or understanding, attachment or wisdom? The answer to that question may reveal more about your future than any prediction ever could, because the life you experience tomorrow is being shaped by the choices you make today, and every moment is another opportunity to plant a better seed. As we come to the end of this journey, let us return to the question we began with. Why do good people suffer? Why does pain sometimes seem to follow those who are trying their best to live a decent and honest life? The Buddha's answer was not simple, but it was profound. Suffering is not always a punishment. It is not proof that life is unfair, and it is not evidence that you have been abandoned by fate. Rather, suffering is part of a vast web of causes and conditions that stretches far beyond what we can immediately see. Some causes come from the past, some are being created right now, and some arise simply because all conditioned things are subject to change. This is why the Buddha did not encourage people to spend their lives blaming karma, blaming others, or blaming themselves. Instead, he pointed toward a path of understanding, a path of wisdom, a path of transformation. The truth is that none of us can go back and rewrite yesterday. We cannot erase every mistake. We cannot prevent aging. We cannot stop loss. We cannot force life to unfold exactly as we wish. But we can decide how we respond. We can choose patience when anger arises. We can choose compassion when resentment appears. We can choose mindfulness when confusion clouds the mind. And with every wise choice, we begin creating a different future. This is the great hope within the Buddha's teaching. No matter what has happened before this moment is a new beginning. No matter how heavy your past may feel, this moment contains the possibility of change. No matter how much suffering you have experienced, this moment offers an opportunity to plant a better seed. Perhaps that is the deepest meaning of karma. Not that we are trapped by our past, but that we are constantly shaping our future. So as you leave this video, do not ask only what karma am I receiving? Ask something far more powerful. What karma am I creating today? Because the answer to that question may transform your entire life. If this teaching has brought you peace, clarity, or a new perspective, please consider subscribing to Virtue Buddha's teachings. By subscribing, you help this community continue sharing the timeless wisdom of the Buddha with people around the world who are searching for understanding, healing, and inner peace. And if you would like to walk this path together, write 1 inch the comments below as a reminder that from this day forward, you choose wisdom over ignorance, compassion over anger, and awareness over fear. May your heart be peaceful. May your mind be clear. May your actions create wholesome karma. And may you continue walking the path toward freedom, one mindful step at a time.